Hi, I'm Robin Hartwig. I serve as pastor organizer with Eco Faith Recovery, and today I am here to help equip any of you who might be interested in engaging your faith community in writing postcards with Reclaim Our Vote. Reclaim Our Vote is an initiative or a campaign with the Center for Common Ground, a 501c3 nonprofit. Reclaim Our Vote is focused on engaging voters, unlikely voters at this point, from voter suppression states. States where voter suppression tactics have been used, multiple tactics are being used, and they are being used effectively to suppress the votes of many, many people, particularly voters of color. Reclaim Our Vote is trying to help engage those voters by giving them the information they need, helping them realize they can make a difference, helping them know whether they're registered, how can they get registered, and how can they find a poll, get to a poll. And oftentimes those polling places are changed at the last minute or consolidated or placed in places where you can't really get public transportation. Reclaim Our Vote is there to help. And we, as people of faith, can help reclaim our vote in this really, really important work. Our faith communities are 501c3 nonprofits. That means we can absolutely engage in political activities that are consistent with our values. We just can't be partisan. We can't advocate for particular candidates. We can't advocate for Democrats, Republicans, political parties per se, but we can absolutely advocate for policies. We can ask questions of political candidates about how they would bring forward particular topics or issues that are in line with our faith. Reclaim Our Vote and its parent, the Center for Common Ground, are 501c3 nonprofits, just like our faith communities are. That means the IRS has no problem with us working with them because we are not working on partisan issues. If you are an individual or a group of friends who are interested in making a particular kind of difference in a partisan way, you can absolutely do that. You just technically shouldn't be doing that with your faith community. You can do that with your friends, with your family members. That's part of being a good politically engaged person. But faith communities, because of these IRS rules, need to be only engaged with 501c3s that are working beyond partisan issues. And voter suppression is far beyond a partisan issue. It is a fundamental issue within our democracy right now. So to help fight voter suppression, we get to write postcards. You can also make phone calls or engage in text banking with Reclaim Our Vote as well. Today, I will be talking to those of you who are interested in serving as coordinators for your faith community, such that you organize the postcards, the stamps, the materials, and distribute that to members of your faith community to make it a whole lot easier for them to be engaged in this important work. In order to do that, I'm going to screen share to show you the website that you can go to engage in this important work. This is the website for the Center for Common Ground. As I mentioned, Reclaim Our Vote is a campaign of the Center for Common Ground. So you go to the centerforcommonground.org website and then campaigns and then Reclaim Our Vote. If you haven't already had a chance to do so, there's lots of information about how Reclaim Our Vote is having a significant impact. And Andrea Miller, the founder of this initiative, has lots and lots of documentation as to how we know that this effort is making a difference. Down at the bottom of this page is where you can sign up to engage either in phone banking, postcard writing, or texting. Today, I'm helping equip you for the postcard writing, so I'll go to the sign up for postcarding campaign. You can join the email list right here, and I'm assuming you've already maybe done a little bit of research on this website. I'm assuming you've probably had a chance to click on this link to learn how to postcard with us after you have signed up to stay tuned. And then what is super helpful to do as soon as possible is to find your regional organizer and contact them. You can simply put your zip code right in here and click on search, and then you'll find the particular person who is your contact. And then what I suggest is sending them an email about who you are, what faith community you're part of, and why you are interested in engaging with Reclaim Our Vote. It's this organizer's role to vet you, make sure you're a real person, make sure your intentions are good. So the more information you can give this person, the better. They may want to meet with you. When I first got engaged, my regional coordinator came out and met with me, and they may want to talk with you by phone instead, or they may simply email you. But you need to be vetted by that person before you can really get going. Once you've sent your email, you're assuming they're going to approve you and you're just waiting for that to happen. You can go on ahead to ordering your supplies. And I suggest you do that because it takes about a week, maybe more, depending on how much you pay for shipping, in order to get all of your supplies. You'll need three key things: the postcards, the stamps, and the labels. This is the link right here where you can order the higher volume postcards. And I'm going to suggest you do that if you're a coordinator, because you are going to be giving these out to multiple people, and you'll need higher numbers to do that. When I went to Vista Prints through this link to order my postcards, I ordered 3,000 of them, 3,000 postcards, because I knew that my community, Spirit of Grace in Beaverton, Oregon, was going to want to be engaged in this for several months, and that we had lots of people who wanted to be engaged. You can choose which version of the postcard you would like to send and get those ordered and on the way. Obviously, the more you order, the less cost per postcard. I think maybe at 3,000, I paid about 3 cents per postcard, or our faith community paid about 3 cents per postcard for those. Then you have a chance to go and order stamps. You can always take your postcards to the post office. I've done that before. It takes a long time to sit there doing stamps by myself at the post office. Much better to have a postcard stamping party at my community of faith. So you can order your stamps here directly from the post office and have those sent to you. Here are the crowdsourced suggestions for ordering 30 per page labels. You're going to need those to put on your postcards. And so choose whichever of those options may work best for you. After you have had a chance to make that order and get contacted by your regional organizer to be approved, pretty soon your supplies will start arriving. And depending on how many postcards you got, you'll get several chunks of these in the mail. Your stamps will be arriving from the U.S. Post Office, and your mailing labels will arrive from whichever vendor you chose to get those. Like I said, I got 3,000 postcards and 3,000 mailing labels. I did not buy spend the money on all of those postcard stamps yet. I want to make sure that our community is actually going to be able to do as many postcards as they hope. So I'm ordering those in batches because those are a little more expensive on a per postcard basis. Another tip that we have learned is, in addition to communicating through our e-news, that we are recruiting postcard writers and that we're training them and having a table set up after worship. We also start running in our e-news that we are welcoming donations. People can make donations to their faith community, as long as your treasurer is cool with earmarking it for postcarding or whatever name you want to go on the memo line. Then those donations can be set aside for these materials that you're purchasing, and people who make those donations can receive credit on their end of the year giving statement, because that's a very good civic thing to do, is to fight voter suppression. And so that's legitimate to have a tax deductible donation paying for all of these supplies, including the stamps. Once your regional coordinator sets you up and approves you, you will get access to another website and that is called the Sincere app. It's www.sincereapp.com, and they'll send you an email with your login information to get in there. And once you log in, you can then proceed to request addresses. You just go in here, you think about how many addresses you want, and you consider which campaign you want to be a part of. Right now, Reclaim Our Vote only has one campaign available for us, and that is sending postcards to North Carolina. These postcards are inviting voters to pledge to vote. They make that pledge within North Carolina, and by pledging that they're going to vote, they then receive a whole number of services that make sure that they're registered, services that they make sure that they know where their polling place is. If their polling place changes, they will be notified. If they need transportation, because like I said, public transportation is not always good to these locations, and that's oftentimes by design. All of that comes to them if they pledge to vote. So that's one example of a kind of campaign that you might be postcarding for. As it gets closer to the election, there will be a postcard sent to people who may not be registered, whose addresses may have changed, or postcards reminding them of where their polling place is, or giving them information about how they can go to a website or make a phone call if they need help getting to their polling place so they can exercise their right to vote. So right now we had just this campaign as our opportunity. And then I usually request in batches of about 200, given that we, usually we're doing each person maybe takes 20 postcards that they're going to do at a time, so it's not too overwhelming of a number. Some of our folks like to take 40 at a time, and that means maybe we'll have 10 people engaged writing postcards, 20 postcards at a time. So about 200 may be a good number for me. You type that in and you hit request, and then after you do that, you will receive an email with the fulfillment of your request. Also, right down here, your request will pop up as being fulfilled. If you request more than 250 addresses at a time, then your request will need to be approved by your organizer. So you'll see here, I requested 200. We then had more people wanted to do it. I requested another 200. Those came through immediately. Then all of a sudden, we really started ramping up, and I needed 600 addresses. At that point, I got a notification that I would need to wait to have that approved. Fortunately, I had the email address of my coordinator, and I sent them an email saying, I really hope you can approve these as soon as possible. And fortunately, my organizer came through and was able to do that. Once you get the link to your request, so this was my first one, I'll just click right into here. You will see these different supplies that you need. The labels that you will be placing on the postcard can either be done 20 labels per page or 30 labels per page. The links that I showed you on that previous page of where you're going to order them are for 30 per page, and those work out just fine. So I disregard this, and I go ahead and I click open, or I download this file. I'm just going to view it for the moment, of the labels. And this is the label that's going to go on the back side of the postcard, on the opposite side from the address, that is giving the key information that this campaign is wanting to convey. Since this is a pledge to vote campaign, not actually a, hey, here's your polling place campaign, that's what this says, and it shows them where they can go, the website they can go to pledge to vote, so that they can get those services to support them. And these can then be, the labels are placed into your printer or into your copier, and then you can print these out, 30 per page. Let me go back and share with you what else comes in that file of information that you just received. Here in this file right here is the pledge to vote instructions right here. And You have until, on this particular campaign, till July 1st. It will tell you when they need to be mailed by. And we have people bring those postcards back to us for a postcard stamping party. I'll say more about that in just a moment, where I go through all of these resources. Then you see the explanation of this particular campaign and why this campaign is important. So you can either provide a copy of that to your folks, or you can simply tell them why you're doing this particular campaign. The guidelines for writing the postcard are on a sheet like this, and it's consistent with that 8-minute training video that you watch and you have all of your people watch before they start writing postcards. And then they also give you a sample postcard. Many of our folks just like to keep that sample postcard right next to them so that they have a chance to see exactly what they can write, a good example of what they can write on the backside around the label, which is placed right here. So those are the resources that you receive through the Sincerely app. If I go back to that app page again, every time you download more of these addresses, you get these different resources available to you. You also receive the actual addresses, and those addresses are right here. You can download them and print them out. You'll get 20 per page unless you change it to a different number, but we have our folks do 20 per page. We give them 22 postcards just in case they mess up, and that has seemed to be a pretty reasonable number for us. And I'm not going to go ahead and click into that because it has actual voter addresses, and I don't want to put that into the video. But that way you can print those out as well. Once you have all of these materials printed out, you will end up with a stack of postcards that you've counted out. Again, for us, it's 22. Sometimes people mess one up and we want them to have a couple extra postcards. You will have a sheet of addresses for each person who's writing the postcards. You will have the directions on how to write the postcards and a sample of what those postcards should say that they could use. And then you will have the sticker labels to place onto the backside of the postcard. And that would be this side, because this is the side that's going to have their address and it's going to get their stamp at the top. So this is the side where the sticker goes, and then they write all of the information around that. And as they say in the training app, it's good to use different colored pens. That's how the person who receives this postcard can know that it was done by an actual person. It's not just blue handwriting that got spit out of a machine, but it's a number of different colors, which makes them more likely to think it actually was done by a human being. And we all know that has impact when you get something in the mail that was actually written by a person rather than printed out through a machine. These materials, then, what we have found to be the most helpful is to place them inside of an envelope. As long as the envelope is at least 8.5 by 11, the materials will fit in there. These particular envelopes are a little bigger than that, which makes it even a little easier to put the materials in there. When we first did it, we used file folders, and what do you know? The postcards kept slipping out of the file folders. And so we switched over to envelopes, which has been much better. And then on the envelope itself, we place the number of the download. You will get a number assigned to each download. I'm going to screen share that again, just so that that part is not confusing here for you. If it's probably right here on this page. Yep, right here at the top is the address request number 826, or if you even go back to your list of them, you'll see, no, maybe not. I guess you have to click into it to see 826, or in this case here, this is 830. We are working on this campaign now of 600 addresses. And so it's download number 830, but then within that download, there are pages that with different numbers on them. And what I mean by that is here's a page of addresses, and right down in the bottom corner here, it says 29 out of 30. And so on this page, on this envelope, to keep these all straight, so we gotta make sure these get completed. So it's really important to keep track of them. We put, okay, this was download number 830. And the sheet that this person received is number 29 of 30. Then we ask them to bring back everything. Now, that's a little different than some of the materials say. Some of the materials say, like at the bottom of this page, it says, please destroy this sheet after completion. We usually just cross that line out because we want everything coming back. Because after we've done this postcard writing for a few weeks, we have a stamping party. And we ask everybody to make sure their postcards are back to us at least a week before the final deadline of when they're due. And then anybody who has time joins us for a stamping party, takes maybe 20 minutes, no more than 30, to put stamps on all these postcards. And in the process, we have different people looking at postcards from the actual person who wrote it, and they can then make sure that there's nothing wrong, that the address isn't missing a zip code, that the sticker actually got placed on there, that it looks legible. It's a great way to double check that these postcards are actually going to have the impact that we hope they have, and a great way to get the stamps on there without me being in the post office late at night trying to get stamps on hundreds and hundreds of postcards. It's much more efficient to do it that way. And frankly, it's fun. You've written these postcards and now you come together with other people who are writing postcards. And instead of just feeling kind of overwhelmed about the state of the world, you end up feeling like, wow, we're actually doing something. You end up seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of postcards that you have contributed to writing and sending, and you see them go out the door with somebody on their way to the post office, and it really it feels good to know that we're doing something together, we're acting together, as EcoFaith's practice number 5 says, and we are making a difference as best we can, putting our faith into action. So on this Sincerely app, after you have had a chance to make sure all of those postcard addresses came back. In the past, I had to check off the addresses. I had to go into the actual file and check off to make sure that these addresses were completed. It appears that now that is determined based on your coordinator. Some coordinators will have you check off that you completed all of them. Other coordinators are having you return the labels that you do not use. Return the addresses that you and your community have not had a chance to write. If something happens, that you want to return those. And so you could go ahead and click into that area to simply let them know what range of addresses did you not have a chance to get to. And you'll find that in here. I think it's under documentation and FAQs. Yeah, returning addresses. I think it's on that other, it's on a couple different pages, but this is one of the places where you'll find it, returning addresses. And it gives you step-by-step instructions. If, you ended up with 40 addresses that didn't get completed, the person just didn't bring them back, or they brought them back and said, sorry, I didn't have time, and nobody else has time to do them, then you go ahead and return them. I would suggest you try to return them with as much notice as possible, because if you do, there's still a chance that Reclaim Our Vote can get those addresses to somebody else who can go ahead and write those postcards. And if we don't get them back to Reclaim Our Vote in time, then those 40 addresses, those folks just aren't going to get these postcards. So I really try to work well with Reclaim Our Vote in that regard. The final thing I'll say is that we have also found it particularly helpful to get just some kind of a box that has enough space for all of the envelopes right now. Maybe you'll have 10 envelopes, maybe you'll have 20, or maybe you'll have 30 envelopes. And the other thing is just a little sheet to track this information on. So to track who has which set of 20 postcards or who took more than one set of 20 postcards, we just use a clipboard and a tracking sheet like this. Up at the top of it, we have the campaign request number. That was that batch number for the download that I told you about, like 830 in this case. And then which page is it that they took? 1 of 30 pages, number 5 of 30, or 29 of 30. When does this have to be mailed by, so that the person who's signing it out, or the person who's signing them out, remembers to remind them that this is going to have to go out by July 1st? What's the name of the person that took it? What's the date they plan to return the cards by? And what actual date did they return the cards? So you can make sure those 20 postcards got returned. And what date were the cards mailed? Just to make sure all those postcards didn't get, put in the backseat of somebody's car and forgotten about, but they actually did get mailed. We don't have a space here for the phone number or the email address for each person, because we've got all that contact information for people who are part of our community already. And like I said, we have our postcard stamping party at least a week before the end of that particular campaign, so that if we then are checking off or crossing a line through the postcards that came back, we can see which postcards haven't come back. And we still have a week to get in touch with those people, make sure they bring their supplies back, including the postcards, make sure those postcards get stamped and mailed. Or maybe if we trust that person, we just say, okay, can you assure us that you're going to get those out? Yes, they say they'll get it out. Okay, will you please send me an email once those you've gotten those postcards in the mail, just to verify that it actually did happen. And then we just keep this clipboard right inside the box, along with the envelopes that are ready to go. At our faith community, we have the stack of supplies, the postcards, the mailing labels, the stamps in a corner of the main office, where our office manager is willing to have us keep them. And then we just refill the envelopes with new postcards as they come back. We simply cross off the numbers of the last campaign, and we put new numbers with the new to represent the new addresses and the new campaign that we are working on at that time. I hope this helps. It's taken us a number of years to get our system down and perfected. In our way of doing it, we have one person that signs in and downloads the information. You can certainly share that password and username, which I think is an email address, with more than one person, if you want more than one person to be able to download and print out the information. And we've found a way to kind of split up some different roles, with maybe one person downloading the primary information, maybe having our office manager do some of the printing, but we don't want to take a lot of time from our office manager. And so then we have a particular volunteer who does the assembly, and then 2 people to do the distribution of the postcards on Sundays after worship. And those are the same people that will basically train new people on the spot. You can have a laptop there to have them watch the video, or you can promise to send them a link to the training video, the 8-minute postcard writing training video. And we talk them through it pretty well, just to make sure they understand what they're doing, that it's good to have 3 different colors of pens, that they really need to have legible handwriting in order to do this job. And if not, they're welcome to come to the stamping party or be a coordinator, but legible handwriting is pretty important for this particular role. And the coordinator then is the person who gives people a call if they don't bring their postcards back. Also, the coordinator, one of the 2 coordinators, typically emails people to remind them that the postcards are due back on a particular date, and then also submits publicity into our weekly e-news to remind people that postcards are available, and to remind people that they can make donations to offset the costs. Not everybody has time to do the writing. Some people would rather make a financial contribution to make this effort possible. Other people have more time and they would rather do the writing. And so it's a wonderful partnership when everybody brings the particular gifts that they have. Um, Takes a little bit of thought just to get the right people doing the right thing. But once you're set up, it works really, really smoothly. Once each person understands what their role is, feel free to reach out to us. If there are any questions that we can answer, any information that would help make this a little easier for you, we are excited for you and your faith community because we know it has been very inspirational to us and really helped us have a sense of putting our faith into action and making a difference. And we hope it will have a similar impact on you. Thanks for giving it a try and best wishes.